One of the biggest reasons we homestead is to be good stewards of what God has given us. For us, that means learning old-fashioned skills, cooking more from scratch, growing what we can, preserving the harvest, and finding simple ways to save money while caring for our home and family. Over the next few days, I'll be grinding fresh flour, baking sourdough biscuits and flatbreads, making homemade cookies, harvesting tomatoes and pepperoncinis, preserving part of the harvest, and putting together simple meals for our family. Hello everyone. If you're new here, my name is Sarah. I'm a registered nurse turned homemaker and homesteader, and together with my husband, we're raising our family of 7. I believe I've shown this before, but something that's made a big difference for our family is preparing as much as I can the night before. Since I grind our own fresh flour, I like to do it in the evening the night before, so I'm not waking everyone up first thing in the morning. I'll grind enough for several days, store it in the freezer to keep it all fresh, and of course, I do realize that the nutritional value does go down as the days go by, but I still figure that it is better than buying all-purpose flour because of the nutrients that are being preserved in the fresh ground flour, and I'm keeping it in the freezer to help prevent it from going rancid from the oils that are being grinded through. And as you can see, I am using different berries such as kamut, hard red, hard white, and I'm just mixing them. If I needed something specific on a day or something like that, then I would just go ahead and grind it then. But this definitely saves me a headache in the morning. And on this day, I already decided to make some sourdough biscuit dough. So all it had to do was ferment overnight, and it makes breakfast come together much more quickly the next morning, and I can enjoy a slower start to my day. I can relax a little bit more, have some more of my coffee, and it helps me navigate things as they come at me. Because with a large family, I'm sure you can imagine things come at me. And I am not a morning person. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I am not, and which is why I worked knock shifts for decades. Decades. So having something started early helps me tremendously in so many different ways. Some of my other go-to breakfasts include oatmeal from scratch, whether I do a baked oatmeal in the wintertime or a, semi-instant oatmeal on the stovetop, Dutch baby pancakes, which I will show you later how I did that later this week. But let me know in the comments what your go-to breakfast is, especially if it's something you can make the night before, because cereal is great in the fact that it's quick, but it definitely lacks nutrients and is mainly full of things that I don't like to feed my children. And it's insanely expensive right now. I'm sure everyone else has noticed that. So let me know in the comments what your go-to recipe is for a quick and easy breakfast. Obviously, with biscuits, you can make biscuits and gravy, but I seem to be the only one in my family who likes it. So on this day, I'm going to try this blueberry compote, and I couldn't believe just how easy it really was to make. I haven't really made anything like this for a breakfast before, and it really only took a few simple ingredients, and chances are you already have everything you need at home. Whether you have fresh fruit from the garden or freezer or a bag of frozen berries like I'm using today, it's a simple way to turn an everyday breakfast into something that feels a little more special. And I love finding little ways to add more flavor and nutrition without spending a lot of extra money. The blueberries add natural sweetness, and of course, I did add some sugar, but also have fiber and antioxidants, and so there's no need to rely on store-bought syrups loaded with sugar. So I served this over warm sourdough biscuits and alongside some of the quality sausage that I made up. It makes for a very filling breakfast that keeps everyone satisfied longer. With a family of 7, I appreciate meals that are simple to prepare, use ingredients we already keep on hand, and help us start the day with wholesome, nourishing food. Sometimes it's the simplest meals that become family favorites. Right after breakfast, I'm getting started on another simple staple for the week, fresh milled flour sourdough flatbreads. That's a mouthful to say. I wanted to experiment with using fresh ground flour, and I was really happy with how they turned out. The dough comes together quickly, and after it has a chance to rest for just a couple hours, so making it in the morning, it's ready by lunchtime. All that's left is going to be dividing it into portions, rolling each one out, and cooking them in a hot cast iron skillet. And as you will see here, my sourdough starter is very active. I keep having to put it in different things, and I don't expect it to overflow, and yet almost every single time it has been. So it's definitely not a horrible problem to have. It's just a very messy problem. And I do use all-purpose flour in my sourdough starter. I can use, of course, the fresh ground flour, but it does take a little bit different finessing, and I'm not trying to make my life more complicated that way. So I still use the all-purpose. If I have extra of the fresh ground and I don't really need it right then, I will use it, just not every single time, and it does work just fine, but I do find that the sourdough starter eats through it a lot faster. So like I said, I let it ferment for probably about 4 hours. This is after our swim lessons today. So it really is a quick make up and kind of forget it until you need it type of thing. And as you can see, I just cut it and rolled it out into 8 different pieces, and then I take my rolling pin and I just, flatten it out after I am warming some oil up on the cast iron skillet. And it's really that simple. There were barely any ingredients in this, and I will link the recipe down below. It's from Lisa Bass's sourdough cookbook. I just absolutely adore that cookbook, and I'm sure it's available on her blog, but the cookbook is definitely one of my must-haves. And this first flatbread was definitely one of those throwaway pancakes. It still was edible by every means, but as you can see here, these next ones did start puffing up a little bit, but definitely not as puffy as they would be with the all-purpose flour, and that's just because it has all those extra parts of the wheat berry in it. Something awesome about this type of recipe is how versatile it is. For lunch, one of my kids wanted an open-faced peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's not easy by any means to actually spread it out on these, but it's delicious for them. And then my other ones wanted mini pizzas that I just put into the small oven on my countertop and air fried them until they were good and crispy, and they absolutely enjoyed that as well. And again, I'm just using more of our pantry staples to make quick, easy, nourishing meals for my family. As I've mentioned, we've been doing a lot of swim lessons over the last couple of weeks, and I just felt like my kids really deserved a nice little treat after a busy week of those swim lessons. And so I decided to make some cookies for them. And one of my favorite things to make is a sourdough chocolate chip cookie, and using fresh ground flour so that they can have those little bit of extra nutrition, and I don't feel so bad about giving them all this sugar. And of course, I do mix my own brown sugar. I just don't like messing with hard brown sugar in my cabinets, and I just keep molasses on hand. It's much more versatile that way for me. And I'm sure most of us recognize that making treats from scratch is a much more budget friendly in the long run, especially with a large family like mine. We can bake a whole batch for far less than buying bakery cookies or individually packaged snacks, and they disappear just as quickly around here. And at least I feel good about knowing what is going into their bodies. I don't think simple living means never having dessert. For me and my family, it's about making treats at home, enjoying them together, and remembering that homemaking is about creating memories just as much as it is about feeding our family. Let me know in the comments what some of your favorite homemade treats are. I love when I make treats like this because my husband likes to say that he doesn't like sugary treats, but generally he ends up eating a lot of them. And so my kids and I generally try to just kind of watch and see. And he did eat quite a few of these cookies. So, again, this is from the same cookbook. I'm just swapping out the all-purpose flour for the fresh ground flour, And if I had soft wheat berries, that would definitely have been ideal, but I just don't keep those on hand. The next morning, I kept breakfast just as simple by making a sourdough Dutch baby pancake. I topped it with the leftover blueberry compote from the day before and served it with a side of bacon. It's yet another easy breakfast that comes together with minimal effort, helps reduce food waste by using up leftovers like my sourdough starter, and gives everyone a nourishing start to the day. Those are my favorite kinds of meals, a simple, delicious, and making the most of what we already have. This time of year, I'm really starting to see the garden start to produce. And after months of planting, watering, weeding, and waiting, it's so rewarding to walk outside and harvest food that will feed my family. Today, I'm picking our pepperoncinis, and then I will be picking some beautiful tomatoes. The tomatoes have really taken off lately, and I was honestly surprised by how large. I believe I have 13 or 14 tomato plants along this really long in-ground bed trellis. And then I have snacker tomatoes, I think about 4 or 5 more plants throughout the garden for my kids to just go and snack on. And then I have a bunch of volunteers everywhere. These are the Bonnie's Best, and they were my favorite until this year. I don't know if it's just because this is a new in-ground bed for us and it's not quite acclimated and nourishing, but it is definitely still producing for us. So I really cannot complain about it. These tomatoes are so big and they're delicious. They are so wonderful. This really is only a small harvest. I need to go back out and start harvesting my paste tomatoes and start getting those into the freezer for when I do actually have enough to start making pasta sauces and such, which I probably will wait until later in the fall into winter to actually process, just because I have so much coming in right now. I want to make sure that I have more time for that. As you can see, some of these pepperoncinis were starting to turn, so this was a must-do harvest, and I will show you how I am trying a quick pickle recipe for them once I get back inside after I am done admiring these volunteer sunflowers. But first, I'm going to wash these off, and I will let them dry by the side while I go ahead and show you just how big my tomatoes are. I'm going to go ahead and weigh them for you really quickly. Okay, so let's see what these tomatoes weigh. This is said it was a beefsteak homestead tomato or watermelon. You can see that it's definitely multiple flowers. Let's see how much it weighs. Let's do ounces. And that is 1 pound 5.4, or 1 pound and 5.4 ounces. So that's a big one for me. And then here's another one of the same. You can see same kind of thing on the bottom. We can just cut around all this stuff. I'm not worried about it. This one's a little bit more squishy. This one, and it still has some green, but it feels pretty ripe. And that's 1.3. So that is smaller. So let's see what these ones are. I think these are the Homestead tomatoes. You can see I'm having a problem with this right now. I don't know if you saw me earlier. I dropped a whole bunch of the little Bonnie's Best onto the ground. This one is nice and firm. So that's 14.4 ounces. So not quite a pound. That one's 12.8. So these are pretty good. Now these are mushroom tomatoes. These are delicious. They're not too watery. They're pretty beefy, and they're just kind of fun looking in my opinion. And they get pretty big. You know, that's 13.2. But as you can see, I am having this issue. And then it's still green, but I picked it anyway. It's pretty small, but I'll cut this out. These would be pretty decent paste tomatoes in my opinion. I have made lots of sauce with these over the years. But these Bonnie's Best, these used to be my favorite, but for some reason this year they're teeny tiny. They're like super tiny. They're not the best. Like I said, I'm having a lot of what I'm assuming is blight or something, which I don't know why I would be having that. I don't have a wet atmosphere out there, a climate. This one is definitely sun damaged, so I just went ahead and picked it. I'll let it ripen a little bit more beforehand. But again, you can still, and I have been fertilizing, but that is a new patch of ground that we are cultivating right now. So I did expect some issues to pop up. So I'm real honestly not too worried, but that is a nice little start today. I also recently showed you that I was trying my hand at microgreens again, and they did not go well. So I'm gonna go ahead and give them another try. And that I am using these different trays. I was using the correct trays last time, but I'm wondering if because of the moisture of this cocoa core, if that's why they got all nice and fuzzy on me. So while those are trying to soak up the water, which, oh my word, it literally took over an hour. Is there, and I used warm water. So is there a trick to getting them to actually absorb water faster? I feel like it shouldn't take me half a day. So anyways, while those are absorbing, I am making lunch and I'm going to be using some of the fresh tomatoes. These are those mushroom ones. And again, I just absolutely adore these. And I'm just going to use these tomatoes and some cucumbers I had picked a couple days beforehand. And I'm going to make just a quick salad. It would absolutely be better if I had had fresh mozzarella on hand, but I don't. And I don't always buy it at the store. Mozzarella is getting expensive. I don't remember why a small brick of mozzarella is over $10 now, but I probably won't be buying that for a little while. So I'm just going without on this day and just using some garlic, some olive oil, and that apple cider strawberry infused vinegar, some Dijon mustard, some salt, and some pepper. And then I do end up remembering that I forgot the balsamic vinegar, and I do add some of that as well. I do run out to the garden and grab some fresh basil, and that just makes all the difference. All of this fresh produce that I get to feed my family, knowing how it was grown. If you don't have even the little bit of land that I have, say you're in a really small condo, apartment, anything, try a green stalk, try putting something on your windowsill. Right now, you could probably grow some pretty decent sized herbs, and or just get a grow light like one I have. I do have a coupon code for it down below if you're interested, but something, and you can start becoming more of a producer than just a consumer. And of course, I did serve some frozen meatballs from Costco that I showed you I brought home from the grocery haul recently, and some leftover flatbread to make it a complete meal. I am going to be using just these broccoli seeds for both of these trays this time because I kind of want to do them a little bit differently. And the papers that I had said to do 25 grams worth of seeds. I did 35 just because of how old these seeds are, and I still think that was too much. But I will show you how I'm putting them instead of stacking them one on top of each other. I'm doing one stacked with the bricks on top like beforehand, and then I'm going to be kind of semi-covering the other one, but I'm going to have a little bit more airflow. I want to see if there's really much of a difference, um, and hopefully this works this time. I'm going to try pickling, quick pickling, all these pepperoncinis. I tried fermenting last time. I want to see what it's like for these. I love pepperoncinis, but I don't like the ingredients that are necessarily in the store-bought. So I found a quick pickling pepperoncini specific recipe that I will link below for you. And I'm gonna give it a try. If these refrigerator pickles turn out well, they'll hopefully save us money by giving us one less thing to buy at the grocery store. They're simple to make. As you can see, I am just stabbing each one with my knife before I put it in to let to have a hole put in like the recipe says. So that was kind of therapeutic in a way. But it was really super simple, and it does take 2 to 4 weeks in the fridge before I can really start eating these. So I will let you know down the road if they did come out. But as the garden really starts producing over the next couple of months, my focus is going to be on harvesting and preserving as much as I can. Whether that's freezing, dehydrating, fermenting, refrigerator pickling, or canning, my goal is to waste as little as possible and enjoy our harvest well beyond the growing season. At the same time, I'm already thinking ahead to our fall garden. Homesteading is always teaching me to think one season ahead. So while I'm preserving this summer's harvest, I'm also planning what we'll plant next. A little planning now means we'll be ready when it's time to get those fall crops in the ground. Thank you so much for spending a few days with me. I hope this video encourages you to get back to the basics, and it doesn't have to mean doing everything at once. Every loaf of bread you bake, every meal you make from scratch, every vegetable you grow, and every jar you preserve is one more step towards stewarding what you've been given. If you've enjoyed coming along, I'd love for you to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, friends. Bye.